The iPhone 16 Pro has been out for a number of weeks now, and I've been hard at work trying to discover my new favorite iPhone filmmaking setup. And you know what? I think I've done it. Now, of course, all the pieces and accessories that I used to make this setup will be linked in the description below, but I do want to say up front that there's still some kind of quirky stuff to work out. It almost feels like a rough working prototype for something that definitely could be more refined and maybe a project that I'll work with like Josh or Condor Blue on. But definitely leave comments below throughout this video with some suggestions as how this could be an even better setup. So let's break it down and go through the pieces. So of course, at the core is the iPhone 16. This specifically is the 16 Pro Max. This setup should work with the 16 Pro, the 15, and honestly most Android phones as well. It's a pretty universal setup, which is what also makes this pretty cool. I do want to give a shout out to the people who made this video possible, which is TORRAS. You know me, I'm not usually much of a case guy, but when they sent theirs out, and I've had it on since I first got my iPhone, this to me is like the perfect balance of functionality, security, especially as someone with kids, but doesn't add a bunch of bulk and just take away kind of the nice design feel of the phone. And of course, for any 16, we still have access to the oh so useful capture button. It's got a nice dip down into it, so when using stuff like photo or film grips, it actually helps with non-accidental clicks of the capture button. This one does have a built-in stand that is fully rotatable, so whether you're trying to stand it up portrait or like a kickstand on the side, it's great. And listen to the noise. If I'm being honest, it usually ends up just being a fun little fidget toy if I'm bored. The case also doesn't take away from any MagSafe functionality, so my MagSafe wallet still fits on, or they even sent out this ultra thin 5000 milliamp MagSafe battery pack, perfect for if you're just trying to keep your phone charged up in your pocket or backpack while you're on the go. So if you're interested in a minimalist case that's going to add functionality, give you some drop protection while still looking sleek and stylish, definitely check out the top links in the description, and huge shout out to TORRAS for sponsoring this part of the video. Let's get back to the iPhone build. All right, so next up on our build, we have this guy. Again, I've made, I think, 2 past videos on this 𝗦𝗧𝗨𝗙 Professional SSD. I love it so much because it's so incredibly small, and although it was a Kickstarter and people have been messaging me for an updated link, but in preparation of this video, I was finally able to see that they are going to officially release this for anyone to purchase on October 18th. And in the description below, you will see both a Amazon and B&H link. Those are the 2 places I found it. And you can get it in just the SSD or the SSD with the hub, which we'll see in a few minutes. One thing to note for this build is the little 180 adapter that the 𝗦𝗧𝗨𝗙 comes with doesn't work with a little bit thicker cases like this, but not to worry, because I found these 180-degree adapters last year for the 15, and they're just a little bit wider than the one that comes with the 𝗦𝗧𝗨𝗙 SSD. I'll leave this one linked down in the description. I think it's like $4 to $6. And so that way you can plug this into the bottom and the SSD fits on with a thicker case just fine. All right, so now we got the phone, we got the case, and we have the SSD figured out. But of course, I'm sure what most of you are interested in based on the thumbnail is this little guy. So I actually saw this originally on like some TikTok video, and there's a bunch of them on Amazon and online in general. It's essentially just a small like 4-inch little monitor. This one is made by 𝗙𝗚. I'll have this one specifically linked in the description below, but again, this is one of those like white label items that I'm sure there's a million options, but thankfully they're not terribly expensive. I think this pack was like 40 bucks, comes with a Bluetooth remote, and most importantly for this setup is the entire back is actually magnetic, and it comes with a iPhone holder that also has a kind of receiving magnetic component to it. And for a while I was just using that and everything was going well. But then I had the idea to integrate it into the 𝗵𝗧𝗏 Pro, which is 𝗵𝗧𝗏's universal phone holder. Now currently I have it in a half cage style setup. I think this is a more minimal way to go, but you absolutely can keep the whole 𝗵𝗧𝗏 Pro if you want to add lenses and do that whole thing. And so at first I tried dremeling out like top part of the cage to like fit the phone holder component into it. But I'm no Josh Yo and I own like one power drill. But then I realized if I just take out the 2 springs and the top part of the holder, I can actually just super glue it to the front, and it looks so integrated. And so now it's super convenient because we can just magnetize the monitor to the front and it works. The only downside I realized after completing this setup is the reason that this hole is usually open is because that's where you put your finger to then raise this part that allows you to put in the phone. So that part becomes slightly a little bit more cumbersome, but you basically just put your phone on this side and just kind of force it up. And there, and it's not that big of a deal, I think. But anyway, back to the monitor. So this works in a couple different ways. One, you do have a USB-C port, so you can charge that. At least it's not micro USB or some older port. And on top, we've got 3 buttons. We have the power button, a backlit brightness button, and a M and D switch. I'm pretty sure that M is supposed to be a W. The way the monitor works is really simple. Press and hold the power button to turn it on. After a few seconds, you'll get a screen that kind of looks like this. And this is where you'll have that switch change. So right now, I have it set to the Wi-Fi mode, where I have this monitor actually connected to my home Wi-Fi. This makes it a lot faster to connect to because my phone obviously is also on the same Wi-Fi network. And so now all I have to do is go into my control center, my AirPlay screen mirroring mode here, and I can see the monitor right there. I'll tap it, and after a couple seconds, we can see it mirroring. So essentially all this monitor does is mirror the phone. Now, obviously, if I launch my camera, we can see that it's mirroring. And the latency is surprisingly good for like a $40 monitor. Like I wasn't expecting too much, but it's actually really good, which makes it pretty reliable for vlogging. Now, obviously, if you're not home and you're out and about, then all you do is switch it to the D for direct. And that way, this will create its own Wi-Fi network. And just like similar other products, you just go into your Wi-Fi settings on your phone, you'll connect to the PH1, whatever it's called, and then everything else works the exact same way. Now, because this is a cheap monitor, there were definitely moments that it would like cut out or I'd start mirroring and then it would stop. But overall, I'd say the couple dozen times that I've been playing around and using it, it's been consistently reliable, I'd say 90% of the time. I just love the fact that there's no cables. It's got a built-in battery that seems to last for a decent amount. If you want to save battery, there's 3 different levels there. So there's all the way dark, medium, and full brightness there. You can also press the power button, not press and hold, but if you just press it, it'll rotate it. So depending on how you have it mounted, you can mount it any which way, and if it happens to be upside down, you just press the power button and it rotates. You can also quickly press the B and the power button, and that's going to change the aspect ratio to stretch to fit the screen or keep it at its proper aspect ratio. If you use the stock camera app, it takes advantage of the majority of the screen, as you can see here. Unfortunately, if I go into the Blackmagic camera app, you can see that it actually windows it, and the rotation also gets a little finicky, so I think I have to lock my screen rotation. And I haven't been able to really stretch it, because if I stretch it the full screen, then it's almost like an anamorphic type setup. It's basically just squeezed. So you can see that it's definitely not taking up the full screen, but it's still doing the job. I still have a way to monitor what is in frame and make sure I'm recording all my camera settings that I can see from the back of the phone. And so for me, at least, that's still very helpful. Of course, the 𝗬𝗬 Pro has a couple tripod mounts, so we have that here. And we also have a hot shoe at the top. So I know a lot of people are going to ask, like, what if I want to connect a microphone? What if I want to add more accessories than just this, like a battery bank? Well, again, if you purchase the 𝗬𝗧𝗨𝗙𝗙 kit with the hub, then it's going to come with this little cable and hub thing here, which I can plug in right here. And now instead of the SSD going to the bottom of the phone, I'm going to plug in this guy. And so now we have a hub on top with 3 USB Type-C ports. So we can plug in power, we can plug in a microphone, and we can get our SSD back in here. And so now you can have a fully rigged up iPhone setup that honestly is still like relatively compact. It's got one single short cable to the hub. And compared to a mirrorless camera in terms of weight, this is so much lighter than anything else out there. I mean, obviously this is my Blackmagic cinema camera. If I switch to the iPhone with the main lens turned on, you can see the quality should be pretty comparable. We should be looking pretty good. I can see myself in the monitor just fine. I think the only other thing you may want to watch out for with this monitor, depending where you put the monitor, you don't want to push it too far. The other monitor is now in frame of the phone, but that is the nice thing about this entire back is magnetic. So you have a lot of play of where to put it, especially if you end up going for the ultra wide lens. If this can be really convenient for vlogging, but it's going to get in view that much sooner. So I'm pretty stoked with how this setup turned out. Yes, it feels a little prototypey. I think there's stuff that we can do to refine it, and I would love your help in the comments down below. If you want to see kind of the transition into what this becomes, definitely make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Again, thanks to TORRAS for sponsoring part of this video and supporting the channel. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video.